Hey, it's Kevin. It is New Year's Eve 2019. Tomorrow is January 1st, 2020. And I am super nervous because tomorrow is the start of my 2020 New Year's challenge. And it is ridiculous, the most ridiculous one yet. I'm going to tell you about that in this video, but I want to first give you a hint to see if you can guess what it is.
When your legs don't walk like they used to before.
You might want to turn your volume down.
I can't sweep you off of your feet.
Ears are starting to bleed.
Your mouth still remember the taste of my love.
Okay, I just can't take it anymore.
Your eyes still smile from your cheeks.
All right, so I'm not quite Ed Sheeran, and I know what you're thinking. New Year's challenge is to learn how to sing, which would be impossible enough, as you can tell. But that's not it. It's just a hint. I'm going to get to the whole thing here in just a second. But I also want to give you some practical, I want to tell you the number one thing I've learned over doing New Year's challenges for a long time. And it is the one secret, the one thing that makes all the difference between a successful New Year's challenge and a failed one. And it doesn't have to be New Year's. This applies to any time of the year. But it's the one thing that I've learned. Literally, it makes all the difference. It's the only reason I would even attempt to do this New Year's challenge. So like I said, I've been doing these challenges for a long time, and they really started, I'll say, they started and took a big shift in the end of 2013. Because I remember I was sitting in my dental office. I just graduated from dental school that year, started my own dental sleep medicine practice. I'm sitting at my office desk, and I asked myself a very dangerous question while a patient wasn't showing up. So I had time to ponder this question. And that was, if I could do anything, would I be sitting right here doing this? And I let myself dream, and I dreamed up like this fairy tale fantasy life. And I was like, well, I'd rather live that fairy tale life than what I'm doing here. Not that I disliked what I was doing there, but I would rather be doing something else. And I asked myself the subsequent very dangerous question, why am I not doing that? Like, why am I not living that? And the answer really came down to one of two things. One is it was impossible, or the second thing was I was just afraid to go for it. And long story short, I don't believe in impossible. I got into reading biographies, and I've read about people's life stories who had the worst circumstances, came from nothing, no connections, no money, no anything, and then rose to the greatest heights. Like I think of Oprah, I think of Richard Branson, these gigantic figures. And it's like, if they could do it, then anyone could do it. Someone like me who is privileged could, that has connections, kind of, not really, but whatever. There was no excuse. So I really don't believe in impossible. So then it comes to, I'm afraid to go for it, right? And there's a lot that goes into that. There's afraid of giving up what you have to go for what you want. But long story short, after dreaming this fairy tale life up, I got super motivated, not to necessarily go try and live that life and do those things, but to prove to myself if it was possible to live this impossible life. And some of the things in this impossible life were having the freedom to read and write, and create things on my own time. It was running meaningful businesses and making change. It was having the ability to wake up in the morning and draw a picture. It was having the ability to wake up in the morning with a song in my head and be able to write it, record it, produce it, and share it by lunchtime. So these were some of the impossible things in my life. And since then, I've been doing these New Year's challenges to see if I can prove to myself if that life was possible. And so I remember in 2014, I started this company developing this intranasal device to help better treat snoring and sleep apnea. 2015, I was able to write this book. And so long story short is I've been doing these New Year's challenges as just a personal challenge to myself to see if I can actually create this impossible life. So that's the backstory. Let's get into the 2020 challenge. I alluded to it there, and that is to be able to wake up with a song in my head, or just write a song and record it, create it, produce it, and share it. And so that's the 2020 challenge. Specifically, the challenge is to create one song a month every month. So 12 songs this year. And since I literally just learned this past year in 2019 what DAW even was, which is a digital audio workstation where you actually, make the music. So when it comes to music, you have like melody and harmony, you have recording, you have arranging, you have production, you have mixing, you have mastering. It wasn't until 2019 that I even knew what these words meant. Like I thought mixing was like remixing a song. But nonetheless, that's the 2020 challenge. I'm gonna give you some more details in a second, but I wanna tell you the most important thing that I've learned over the course of these years, and there's several hacks and one main thing to, help ensure success. And so hack number one, I'm gonna give you an example. So in 2019, my challenge was learn how to draw. And I was gonna spend 5 minutes a day, a minimum of 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week, learning how to draw. And I designed that as the challenge for a few reasons. 5 minutes a day, anyone's got 5 minutes a day, right? Now I could do more than that, but I had to do at least 5 minutes, 5 days a week. So that means 2 days a week, things come up, I can skip 2 days a week, but I have to do it 5 days, 5 days a week, 5 minutes, 5 days a week minimum. I can do more if I have more time. So the smart thing about that goal is making it so simple that there's no excuse. So simplicity is the step number one. Step number two is kind of proximity. So if you can see, this is my desk. This is where I work right here. I put my drawing pad right next to me, the pencils right next to me. So right here, I'm working on a picture of my nephew, James. He was the first picture I drew in January of 2019. So he was gonna be the last one I was gonna do in 2019 to kind of compare those two. The first drawing I did so in 2018, before I started the challenge, was a self-portrait, which I have up here on the wall. And then that portrait of the little girl was finished in November. So there's approximately 40 hours of work in between those two, which it shocks most people to say, because I average probably 10 minutes a day, 5 days a week, so approximately an hour a week, and that was approximately 40 weeks of work. And so 1 hour of practice to go from that to that, which does tend to shock people. But when you stick with something day after day after day like that, you can do a lot in 1 year. The common saying is people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10. Which I agree with half of that. We all drastically underestimate what we can do in 10 years. But I think people often tend to underestimate what they can do in a year with a little bit of consistency. So that was one hack. Another hack is to commit to someone, okay? So with the drawing challenge was the first time I really made a public commitment. And there was no backing out. I was told tens of thousands of people, look, this is my New Year's drawing challenge. And so that held me accountable. And you don't have to commit to 10,000 people, you can commit to one person. And that's why I got this number up on the screen right here. This is where you can text me. So if you are gonna make a change, it doesn't have to be a New Year's change, but if you want someone to hold you accountable, I'm there for you. My number, 314, that's St. Louis area code, my hometown, 207-4020. Shoot me a text. I'm gonna tell you more about this texting in a second, but like if you need someone to hold you accountable, that's a huge step. So ease, proximity of starting, make it simple, have someone hold you accountable. The next thing is invest. So the more you invest as far as time and money, the more you're gonna be committed to it. So for example, in 2019, I started investing in this 2020 challenge. So I bought several courses to learn what those things were. Like what is mixing and mastering? What is, melody and harmony, and how do I create that? What's a DAW? How do I produce? So I got a head start on this New Year challenge, learning what some of these things were. I also invested in a vocal coach. So I've been taking vocal lessons, and believe it or not, this Ed Sheeran song that you heard earlier that made our ears bleed, that was after several months of vocal lessons. So I was even worse than that. It's hard to imagine, like you didn't think it was possible to get worse than that, but I have less than 0% singing ability. And yes, that is something that it's gonna be very hard to release this first song in January knowing I can't sing yet, but hopefully I learn how to pitch edit or something like that as well. Okay, so next thing as far as successfully implementing change, and that is scheduling it. So with the drawing, I scheduled it every single morning, 5 mornings a week. And it was the first thing I did so I could just knock it out, get it out. With the music, it's gonna be the first thing I do every morning. Sometimes you gotta sacrifice other things, move things around, but you have to have it scheduled in. If it's not scheduled in, it's not gonna happen. So a lot of people are gonna have fitness, New Year's resolutions. If you wanna apply this to this, find the closest gym. Maybe find a workout partner that's gonna hold you accountable, and you can text me too, I'll hold you accountable. And schedule it. Have a time of day when you're gonna go, okay? So those are 3 things. 4th thing, share it. Meaning share it, ship it, whatever it is. So with my drawing, I shared every drawing every month. And the reason this is so important, and it's why for this 2020 challenge, where I'm having 1 song a month, it forces me to ship something. It forces me to put it out there. It forces me to say, this is finished. Because what will happen is perfection is going to get in the way. Perfection, and oftentimes it's insecurity masking as imperfection, saying like, okay, I'm just going to take another course and keep learning, okay? When reality, one thing I learned last year more than maybe anything else is that learning without doing is almost useless. I spent a lot of time trying to learn music stuff, but right now I have zero confidence that I can write a song in 1 month. It's because I didn't do it. I didn't practice putting it into action. So the key is, if you ship, if you put it out there, if you set it, if you say this is a deadline that this has to be done. If it's maybe update photos where, okay, I'm gonna send an update photo, I'm gonna text Kevin an update photo every month in 2020 so he can hold me accountable and it holds myself accountable to keeping on pace. That is a great way to do it. So these are hacks. I'm getting to the one biggest thing. One more thing on shipping it, because one thing that is more important than perfection is being prolific. So instead of trying to do the perfect workout, it's much better to get to the gym and just do a workout and get better as you go. I think a great example of this is Mozart, Beethoven, Bach. You know, some of these greatest composers in history, those 3, each of them wrote over 500 songs in their careers. I think Bach wrote over 1,000. Now, we might know them for 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, but you know, think about that. That's like 1% of their whole repertoire. And the point is, prolific over perfection. Consistency over, you know, a masterpiece. Okay, I've been shipping my bad pictures all year long, and it's an important point. You have to be willing to be bad if you ever want to be good. And so, this brings me to the number 1 most important thing that these hacks are all ingraining, and that is identity. This is the number 1 thing I've learned. Once you can self-identify as the person that has the change, that's when it all happens. For example, if you have a fitness goal, if you can self-identify as a person that works out every day, as a person that eats healthy, when that becomes part of your identity, willpower, there's no more willpower. It goes out the window. It's just who you are. People are often telling me like, you have such discipline to only eat meat, or you have such discipline to go to the gym every day. When to me, it's not. It's easy. It's a part of my identity. So the key is, for me, art. Like I couldn't draw. Look at that picture up there. Like I had no natural drawing ability. So it is making the shift from being someone who has no drawing ability to being able to self-identify as an artist. Or this year, being able to get to the point where I can self-identify as a musician, as someone who makes music and ships music. Number 1 trick. So whatever it is you want to change, if you can change the fact that you can identify with it, that makes all the difference. That's the number 1 trick. Okay, let's get back. I wanted to give a couple more details about my 2020 challenge, because look what I'm doing here. I'm committing to literally tens of thousands, maybe 100,000 people that are in my Saturday 7 newsletter now, that I'm doing this challenge. I have a massive amount of accountability that I'm gonna hold myself to other people. So I'm doing that, and a few things about the challenge. First thing is, the song that's going to release at the end of January, my very first song, I'm going to start writing it tomorrow, January 1st. I don't have any idea. That's kind of the thing. It's going to be a spontaneous idea of what that song is going to be. I imagine my songs are going to be kind of like a reflection of me, scattered, doing this, that. I'll probably try this genre, experiment with this musical theory concept. So there's gonna be a lot of experimentation in it. But what I was saying was the challenge. January 1st, I'm gonna release a song. One thing I don't have to do is I don't have to release it publicly on streaming services until after 6 months. So the first 6 songs, I'm reserving the right to keep private between me and you, the people who are in my, that text me, and the people that are on my Saturday 7 newsletter. Those are the people that are gonna get the first song 100%. Probably the first 6 songs. If I feel like the second or third or fourth song is good enough to release, like on a streaming service, I'll do that. But I'm reserving the right to keep at least the first 6 songs private. So if you want those, just shoot me a text, and I'm gonna text you the song so you'll always have access to the first song as well as every other song. Basically, if you text me or if you're on my Saturday 7 newsletter, you get all the VIP everything, okay? Because that's like my family. The text and the email is the best way to communicate one-on-one. And I would love to support you in whether it's your 2020 New Year's challenge, or if this is after watching this after 2020 and you want to make a change, text me, shoot me a text, let me know what it is. Commit to me, let's hold each other accountable. It's the biggest thing, because I'm happy to support you, because I know I need your support. I'm very nervous about this challenge because look, I am a dentist in his 30s who's never made music before. I have a piano here behind me, which I have dinked around on, but literally I can't do anything. Obviously I can't sing, so I mean, your support's gonna mean a lot to me. I appreciate you just watching this video to hold me accountable. And I'm gonna see you this year. So let's have a great year. Thank you for watching, and let's go crush it. Have a good one, bye-bye.